Hey everyone. So, we already know how many people feel stuck in the limitations of conventional medicine, and that's exactly why I created Holistic Health with Melissa to take you on a journey from conventional to crunchy. Here, you'll get empowering wellness insights, practical tips, and faith centered strategies to help you feel your absolute best. In each episode, we'll dig into what true health and wellness really means. We'll dive into nutrition, lifestyle, mindset, and detox, all things so important to your health. We'll chat about raising kids with intention and living life of faith. So join me to reclaim your energy, embrace your healthiest life, and find joy and purpose along the way. Hey, ladies. Thank you for being here. I am so excited to dive into today's podcast. But first, I want to grab your full attention really quick because I want to talk about something really exciting that's coming up. If you have been feeling exhausted, overwhelmed, anxious, or you feel like you're just living in constant survival mode, then listen up because this is for you. I am hosting a brand new 3-day mind body healing workshop. It's unlike anything I've ever done before. This is for you if you're a woman who feels like you've tried everything. You've tried all the supplements, the diets, the therapy, the positive thinking, and you still feel stuck in your stress, stuck in your symptoms, and in a spiral of burnout and survival mode. Over the course of these 3 powerful days, I'm going to teach you the exact nervous system regulation techniques that helped me and hundreds of women like you finally get out of fight or flight, start healing from chronic stress and trauma, and reconnect with our true selves, reclaiming our energy, getting our confidence back, and finally living in alignment with God's calling. You'll learn how to calm your body in real time, release trapped emotions and patterns that are keeping you stuck, release those limiting beliefs that are ruminating in your head, reclaim your energy and your mental clarity, regulate your emotions instead of reacting, rebuild your confidence and self-trust, and start feeling safe in your body again. This isn't just about managing your symptoms. It's about transformation. It's about becoming the woman who no longer feels like she's barely holding it all together. It's about healing at the root of your symptoms so you can finally feel that peace, your power, and your purpose in your everyday life. It's practical, powerful, and it's exactly what your nervous system has been craving. So grab your spot now. The link is in the show notes. There's limited spots available. I cannot wait to walk through this with you. See you there. We've trained as a society, as a culture, and like in this technological revolution that we live in, like we have this expectation that we're going to go into the doctor's office and we're going to get a pill and it's going to fix it.
Yes.
We don't actually realize that there's actually no pill that's going to cure anything. The pill is actually just a band-aid. Might help with symptoms. And sometimes we might need that as like a bridge. But the only cure for any illness or symptom is diet and lifestyle, period. Like
hmm hmm
that's the cure.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Holistic Health with Melissa. I'm so excited for you to be here today. We have Lindsey Renteria, and I cannot wait to dive into this conversation. Lindsey is a nurse practitioner and a women's gut health expert. After struggling with digestive issues for over 20 years, she finally figured out the underlying cause of her digestive issues and was able to heal for good. Now she works with women on sustainable and realistic ways to not only heal their gut, but to completely transform the way they feel on a daily basis, and more importantly, how they show up for their family. Thank you, Lindsey, for being here. I'm so excited to chat with you today.
Yeah, so excited. Such a near and dear topic. Obviously, this is the work that I do, and it kind of fuses the work that you do. And so I love talking about this together.
Yeah, I We have known each other for a couple years now, and when I started my podcast, we talked about it, you being on, and we finally made it happen. I'm super excited because you are a gut health expert, and I think people so underestimate the impact of their gut. Like people just don't know how important their
Yes.
gut health is to their overall health, and how it's impacting so many of their symptoms. So we're going to get to all that stuff, but I'd love to hear kind of like more about your bio and like what brought you here, what issues were you struggling with that wound up getting you into um, health coaching.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's interesting because I started when I really think back, my digestive issues started when I was a young teenager. And when I was trying to think of my timeline, when I was originally going through my own healing journey, I just knew it started when I was a teenager. And as far as that's kind of as far as I could remember back of having stomach issues. And it honestly wasn't until after I went through a lot of majority of healing on my own before I realized how heavily my own history of trauma and nervous system connection was tied to my own digestive issues. And so this actually all stemmed from when I lost my dad when I was 13 years old. And I remember I had a lot of things come up in my health at that time that I never linked. Panic attacks, not talking about it, so kind of like just burying all these emotions,
Mm.
um, having acne, gaining weight, all these things that started after that point. And then fast forward to my late 20s, I was then in grad school getting my nurse practitioner and working full time and getting
Not
married and
stressful at all.
all of those things together, and it quite honestly just hit me like a bag of bricks, and just found myself in daily issues with bloating and constipation and stomach pain after eating, and couldn't tolerate any foods, and had high cholesterol, was on a handful of medications, acne like crazy, my weight gain again, all of those things. And wasn't until I started working with my own coach that she actually started to help me identify some of these things that are kind of tucked deep down in your soul, right? My relationship with food, losing my dad, all of these things that no doctor had ever asked me about, right? And
Mm.
it was actually when I started to work on that, my digestive issues started to get better. And they started to get better without me even thinking I was working on that, which then obviously kind of led me to this space of, okay, I know that there's a million other people going through this with what I did. And so really just felt that calling and always wanted to really have my own like health and wellness center. But, years and years ago, I was thinking of that as a brick and mortar. Now we're all, right, can do this amazing online space. And so that's really what led me into this space. And especially after working in conventional medicine as a nurse practitioner in GI and liver, and saw these issues come in with women over and over again, and just knew that that was not the space set up in conventional medicine to help women the way that I wanted to. So then was born Lindsey Marie Wellness, and now lots of women later who have gone through lots of healing and taking that through. And here I am today with no daily digestive issues, no acne, not on any medications, all of those things. So it just is so, wild sometimes to think about with like how connected our body is, our mind, our gut, our every function. All of that is going to depend if your body is functioning or dysfunctioning, and it's going to tell you. So that is exactly how I kind of ended up here.
Wow, such a powerful story. And I love that you like started working with your own coach
Hmm.
and then suddenly realized that you had all these like underlying um like unprocessed pieces of emotion
For sure.
that were actually like kind of at the root of what you were dealing with, because that's what I talk about all the time is like I think the nervous system, like a very close second is the gut microbiome, but like the nervous system is I think the most important system in the body, because it controls everything. And
Yes.
if you have nervous system dysfunction, you are going to have symptoms. And for you, it was digestive issues. For me, it was insomnia, panic, migraine, skin issues. Like for other people, it might be joint pain or brain fog or other things. All kinds of different symptoms can come from nervous system dysregulation.
Yeah.
So I love that you talked about that. I'd love to hear you kind of touched on it a little bit, but I'd love to hear more about what your experience was in like traditional medicine and where you see the gaps between like health and sickness, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like why is that system not working for so many people?
Yeah. Yeah. And this is so interesting because now all of my clients and women that I'm working with now, one of the first things that I ask them is like, hey, when all of this started with your digestive issues or whatever health concerns that they're dealing with, did you have anything significant going on in your life? Was it super stressful? Did you move? Did you get sick? Did you have something traumatic happen? Like, what was going on around that time? And for a lot of women, they'll say, like, you're the first person that's ever asked me that. And this even goes for people sometimes when they have seen not only traditional and conventional medicine, but also seeing naturopaths and other type of holistic practitioners. Sometimes people still don't ask that. And so for me, right, firsthand that that question is completely opening up a ton of stuff that they've never thought about.
Mhm.
And sometimes takes a while to get to. But what I have realized is that question is one of the most important that I ask my clients because it does reveal so much. That question also requires a lot of time and thinking and patience and listening, right? All of those things that we are just certainly not set up for in
Mhm.
conventional medicine. You know, on average, I was actually fairly lucky at the conventional medicine setting I worked in. I had about 30 minutes with each patient, which is actually significantly longer than most people would have in an outpatient setting. And they did push to, shorten that time frame, and I pushed back and those sort of things. But even in that, we are still, one of the training is just not there. So people can place blame on conventional medicine or that doctor or practitioner or whatever, but you're just not set up and you just don't know what you don't know. So if you've never been introduced to this world of more holistic functional healing, and I just want to clear the air by first, I feel like functional medicine is getting a really bad rap right now and kind of like woo woo and all this kind of stuff. But really, I tell people functional medicine just means figuring out why you are having this issue and not just trying to cover it up with band-aid medication, right? And kind of just make it go away without figuring out why it's going on. That's truly what functional medicine is. It's just, I always say it's like you keep asking the question why until you can't anymore. Why is this happening? So you're just not set up to do that. And then think about to the patients coming to conventional medicine, that patients are also trained in a sense, right? Conditioned when they go into a doctor's office, they expect a fix and a quick one and a medication. And how do I feel better right away? And so there's some lack of education and just a system that is not set up correctly on the provider and conventional end, but then also on the patient end too. What is the expectation of majority of those patients going into a doctor office? So I think there's a disconnect on both ends in how we've been trained and then also how we've conditioned those patients coming into that setting.
Yeah, 100%. I love that you brought that up, that it's like it's not a lot of people will place blame on it, and I struggled with that myself personally, like coming from that system also. Like when I exited that system, I was really mad at the system. Um and it took a long time for like me to not be so mad. Like really the system is set up in such a way that it's not actually designed to provide the time and the effort that goes into the lifestyle and true needle movers to help clients act and people actually be healthy. Like the
Hmm.
system is designed for acute illness, right? Like, so I
Hmm.
always say, thank God for ICUs, ORs, ERs, and penicillin when we need it, because like those are really like penicillin has saved lives, right?
Yep.
Like we could die if we didn't have that. Like I could die if I have penicillin because I'm so allergic, but like you know what I mean? Is like thank
Yep.
God that we have access to some of those like modern like breakthrough technology and healthcare. But like as far as actual like health, I think now we need to like we kind of swung way far over to one side and like, oh, let's give everything a pill or procedure, and that's kind of a symptom of a system that's been set up like that, right?
Yes.
Get people in and out. And then also, like you said, like we've trained as a society, as a culture, and like in this technological revolution that we live in, like we have this expectation that we're going to go into the doctor's office and we're going to get a pill and it's going to fix it. And
Yes.
we don't actually realize that there's actually no pill that's going to cure anything. The pill is actually just a band-aid. Might help with symptoms. And sometimes we might need that as like a bridge. But the only cure for any illness or symptom is diet and lifestyle, period. Like
Hmm. Hmm.
that's the cure.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
Um, so I love that you talk about that also. Can we unpack a little bit more what you said about like the mind? This is what I talk about a lot, you know, like the mind body connection and
Yeah.
like how connected are they?
Yeah. Extremely to the point where I actually brought another coach into my own business who is more of an expert in this area and helping do that inner work and a lot of the nervous system work. And while I focus on that too, I never even realized when I got into this work how connected they are. But I would say probably at least 90%, and I might be even lowballing that, of our clients have anxiety, depression, OCD, history of trauma, stress so high they can barely function. They're in that freeze mode, something like that going on. And what I tell people, I was actually explaining to a client the other day, is sometimes when our family and friends around us don't have digestive issues, they're really skeptical about like, well, how can your stress be causing your bloating or, a connection there? And how can this mind and what's going on internally inside of us create this whole host of digestive issues going on? And I explained to her, it's almost like, right, most people can relate to that a stress can cause a heart attack. Most people get that, right? And they're not going to say, "Oh, no, no, that's not true. Stress is not causing heart attack," because we've seen it happen over and over again. The stress, I tell people it's almost like the heart attack is in your stomach, right? We're having a
Ooh.
crisis within our body. So it's almost like for some people, that stress is going to be manifest itself physically as a heart attack or a stroke or high blood pressure, something like that. But for some of us, it's going to manifest as bloating, constipation, diarrhea, abdominal pain, not being able to digest our food. And that's exactly what's going on. And we can't really pick and choose what part of our body is going to be screaming for help because of the internal turmoil going on inside of ourself.
Yeah. Shout out Jamie Javed coaching because she's amazing.
Yes.
Um, uh, so that is so powerful that you said it's almost like the heart attack is happening inside of our stomach. Like I've never heard that before, and that is such a good like way for people to understand that.
Yeah. I like made it up the other day because I'm always trying to
It's
think of
brilliant.
very relatable analogies that are easy to get. Or,
Yeah.
I tell people like another way that every single person on this planet can relate that the mind and the gut are connected and how they can experience this firsthand, whether they have digestive issues or not, is like when you get a really good feeling or you got asked out on a first date or you get that first kiss from your spouse or whatever it is and you get butterflies in your stomach, Or quite the opposite, right? Like when we lose a loved one, when we get really bad news and we get that literal pit in our stomach, that physical sensation that we're feeling in our stomach is because of how we actually feel emotionally, mentally in our head. And every human has experienced that. So a lot of times when then people go, oh, okay. And I say that is exactly how they're connected. That's something relatable that every single person has experienced before.
Yes, so that's a great analogy too. What do you think the like source of, maybe this is not the right way to ask this, but like that's the only, yeah, like the source of the the sheer volume of like stress that we see in today's life. Like it people, I don't know, before, 50 years ago, there was a different type of stress, but I feel like nowadays, like the stress is like unmanageable for people. Like,
Hmm.
what is the source of that? Where is that coming
Hmm. Hmm. I think this is a question you might get 20 answers if you ask 20 people, right? I think from what I see, I really do think I think there's so many things that can go into it, right? We think of one, our economy. It's like very hard to live off of a single income these days, right? So it puts both people in the household working, or if somebody's a single mom or a single dad, that puts a lot of stress on them, right? So could be financial stress of trying to keep up, right? And let's say you do have a single parent household or both parents in the household working. And now, right, then how do you keep up with just life, right? Like taking kids to and from school and activities, paying for activities, trying to give yourself like decent food, which, everything has gone up. Like, I think there's that part of stress, which has affected everybody in some way, I'll say like very fortunate. We've never gone like needing on a month-to-month basis where we didn't have to provide for food on the table, but I've even seen a difference in the way that our income comes in and how much is left to spend on fun stuff versus not, right? Even when you're doing okay. So the economy is just so different. But I also think there's just a huge part of it. And I talk about this a lot. And I tell women all the time, I'm holistic but realistic. And I think we go on Instagram trying to find answers for why we feel the way that we do, right? Regardless of what that is. Maybe it's digestive issues, maybe it's our health, maybe it's our nervous system and stress. We're trying to find tips or answers or help or whatever. And we almost go on there and we feel more defeated
from?
because Instagram is highlights and we go on there and think we have to do things perfect or it's this very unrealistic way and that's the only way to feel better. And so I think that just the social media and comparison and thinking that everybody is kind of like doing better than us creates this sense of needing to keep up, right? And pace. And when I talk about this with my clients, every single one of them agree. I tell them, I don't know about you, but I go on Instagram and I feel like, why can't I keep up? It's me. Okay, so now I need to do more.
Yeah.
So we put this overwhelming amount of pressure on ourselves and our family to do more, have more, be more, show up more, whether that is something that's like a tangible or a materialistic thing, or just kind of quite honestly, like showing up for our family more. So it's just this overwhelming pressure. So I think it's coming from so many angles. And one question I ask clients all the time that always kind of like takes them back for surprise memo is like, when is, and this came from Jamie, right? Jamie Javed again, who coaches with me with our clients, is like, when's the last time you checked in with yourself? How are you doing? What do you need? How do you feel?
Hmm.
Most women can't even answer that when I ask. And I wouldn't have been able to answer that before either. So I think that was kind of a long-winded answer, but
Yeah.
I think it's coming from
Yeah.
everywhere. And the problem is most of us don't know how to separate that to make ourselves actually feel truly, genuinely feel happier and more joyful and more okay with who we are and what we can do and what our capacity is and what it's not.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think so much of that, the source of that stress that we see in like 2025, when the time of where this is recording, like maybe this will be in the vault in like 100 or 200 years, and they'll be like, oh, that was
Mhm.
but is this technological revolution that we're living in real time. We're more connected than ever, but we're also more disconnected than ever.
Yeah.
Disconnect, there's not actually like true relationships with people. We're disconnected from ourselves. We're disconnected from God. We're not actually like slowing down. And there's this, because of the technology, which again, just like traditional medicine is like, there's benefits to it, right? Like I'm not like an anti-technology person. It's just I can see the detriment of how it makes us kind of strive always, like you said, for more, 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 more. And we're just kind of always striving and pushing. Like there's no actual like slowing down and just connecting with ourselves and asking ourselves, like, how do you feel right now? Like people don't even ask that anymore because we're so inundated with stimuli and like force and push and go and more and
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, it's like almost just along those lines of like I talk about with our clients, like so much throughout our whole day, it's just sensory input, 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 right? From podcasts, from TV, from music, from whatever. Even if it's something like, oh, I'm listening to an amazing podcast, I'm listening to worship music, I'm whatever. It's sensory input, and how often do we actually like just output? And that is so disproportionate
oh,
that it just
so good.
creates that, right? And I'm guilty of it too. We're all
So
guilty of
good.
it.
Yeah. Yep.
And like you have to intentionally not allow input or separate yourself so that there's no input for just a little bit of time each day. And so I think that adds to it as well.
Yeah. So good. We could talk about that like in a whole episode.
Truly.
What do you think are like some of the most common misconceptions about gut health?
Oh, this is a big one. I would say one of the biggest ones is that people think it's in people's heads. And I actually tell my client, I kind of like say this in a joking way with Sarah. I'm like, I mean, it is in our head, but not falsely. Like, right? Just because of that mind gut connection we talked about, and kind of going back to like that heart attack analogy. It is in our head a lot of times of because of how we're feeling emotionally, mentally, but it's creating physical symptoms. Those are not made up. So I think that is like a big one, especially that I'll hear from clients that they're, asked by their family members, by doctors. Like it's actually quite sad. And the other thing that, this is like everywhere right now, it's like all of these cleanses and detoxes and parasite cleanses and supplements, right? All of this stuff. It's we're interested in taking a holistic approach, but really we're just trading out a prescription for another quick fix. And this is exactly why I talk about the healing digestive issues as well as, healing nervous system issues. This stuff takes time. This is changing things in our lifestyle and our habits and things that have been ingrained in us for maybe 20, 30, 40, 50 years, depending on
Mhm.
our age. And this is the work that isn't easy. And so everybody's looking for the answer of like, why do I have bloating? It's this food, or why do I? Well, it's a lot deeper than that. So I think the misconception here is that something is going to fix our digestive issues or insert whatever health concern you have. And no one single thing is. It's typically like there's 10 things going on contributing to it, right? And you know that. And so we're keep looking for answers in one area. And this is actually why we focus a lot on, I would say, kind of like healing from outside in and inside out. You know, yeah, we're going to do some testing if that's what we require. And yeah, we might use some supplements as a bridge, but I just say they're just that. That stuff is a bridge. You know, whatever shows up on a test is not the root cause of why you have digestive issues. We got to figure out what created those imbalances to begin with. And that's where that nervous system comes in. So I think people are still just looking. People are, yes, being more informed and more educated about a more holistic approach and these root cause approaches, but a lot of people actually aren't even doing root cause healing. And this is actually why I stopped just doing testing and handing you over a protocol because I saw a difference in the results that people were getting when they were trying to drive this healing journey they're on themselves, even if they had a roadmap of what to do. I know that people need the support and accountability as much as you know that, right? That's such an important part because healing journey is not linear, it's up and down. There's going to be trial and error, and what works for one person might not work for another person. And then things come up, right? We start to go through healing. It's emotional, sometimes it's challenging. They're like, oh my gosh, I didn't realize how much this from my childhood affected the way that I felt. And I'll hear from clients sometimes, I don't know why I've been so emotional lately. And it's all part of it. And so I would say like the biggest misconception right now is we're looking for this one thing to help us feel better. And you're gonna keep wasting time, money, and energy and like literally burn yourself out from every avenue. Keep going that way. You need kind of like multiple approaches coming in at once. And that's why the work that you do, the work that I do, and the ones of us that are in this true root cause healing space, it doesn't happen in a month. It doesn't even happen usually in 3 months. I would say
Yeah.
like at least 4 months, usually 6 months, sometimes a year, sometimes longer.
Yeah. And it's a journey, not a destination.
Truly. Yeah. So, we can talk about different misconceptions of like, oh, probiotics aren't for everyone or like that kind of surface level stuff. But when we're talking about true misconceptions, that's what I would really love people to know is like, this is why this is such a complex topic, is because it is complex. And if I go on my Instagram right now and start just only talking about the nervous system affecting the gut, I lose people, I lose their attention because they don't understand that that connection is there, right? And so that's why we kind of get into that work once we're working together, once we're able to talk on a deeper level so that they can truly understand what's going on there. So we can do away with those misconceptions of
Hmm.
why things haven't worked in the past.
Yeah. So good. That's a great segue to talk about like so for the woman who's listening, who feels like bloated, digestive issues, like insert whatever symptom, feels terrible, low energy, she's overwhelmed, she's inundated with information, she doesn't know where to start. Like, what are a few simple, practical shifts that she can make today to
Hmm.
help herself feel better, knowing this is a journey, not a destination?
Hmm.
This one
Hmm.
thing is not going to fix
Hmm.
everything.
Right. And I always tell people too, um, like baby steps and one thing at a time, because a lot of us, we try to make changes, we make too many changes at once, we set ourselves up for failure. And I've been there before. I'm sure we've all been there before, right? And so doing like things one step at a time, but just starting with being more intentional and mindful can go a long way. So, right, I had a client I was talking to the other week, and she's like, I'm going through this protocol, and, but I'm still bloated, and da 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 da. And I'm like, all right, so tell me about like what you're doing before you eat breakfast, because the bloating was starting after breakfast. Well, she's running around like crazy, right? So when we talk about that, and I'm sure you've talked about this so many times on your podcast and our nervous system and sympathetic and parasympathetic and, survival mode and rest and digest. When we're in that survival mode, our body does not care about digesting our toast and our eggs. And apple or, whatever, all those things. And then we're trying to throw fiber in here because it's good for our gut health. And it's like our body can't even utilize this stuff. It doesn't even know what to do with it. It's like, hold on, I'm like just trying to keep us alive here. So sometimes it's like before we eat any meal or any snack or whatever, like just ask yourself, what does my body feel like right now? Was I just running around because my kid is throwing a tantrum, or I just got a really like angry email or whatever was going on? Or do I feel like relaxed? So most of us don't feel relaxed right before we're eating, again, because of that world that we're living in and because of our day to day and whatever. So sometimes just like taking that intentional moment, again, asking ourselves, how do I feel right now? And you can answer that question extremely fast in like a second with your own self. And if you know you're in that heightened state, which most of us are, unfortunately, then just take that breath. I always say, sit up straight, take a breath, a couple breaths, slow down while you're eating. And like so that our body knows it is in a safe place, it can digest food because it's almost like we're just setting ourselves up for failure. I use a ton of analogies. So I also explain our whole digestive system from our mouth to our anus is like a factory and an assembly line. And when we're in that survival mode and that fight or flight, the factory's not really like on right now. It's not really, the workers aren't all there, right? It's like in chaos mode. Someone may have not showed up for work, whatever. And so when you have this food now starting, you're chewing, swallowing, it's starting to go into your stomach and your small intestine, those sort of things. Think of it as like the factory is not even all the way on. All the assembly line workers aren't there. And when you have one out of order, then everything, it's like a domino effect and everything becomes out of order. So just taking that intentional moment to stop and how are you? And can I take a couple deep breaths? Can I sit up straight? Can I chew my food really slow? And I explain this of not like a checklist of what we need to do, because that's something that Jamie and I work on a lot with our clients of how do we transform it from like this checklist of I need to do this, 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 and this. But I would say just use it as an opportunity and a question to ask yourself, how can I help my body digest this food better? How can I help my body feel better in this moment? And that's coming with like care and compassion for yourself, right? Rather than I need to do this, I need to do that, I need to do that. And that sometimes feels like such a struggle and a battle. So, like, how can I help myself digest this food right now? So I like to do that a lot. Even like really little simple things. Let's take a carrot, for example, right? Carrots are really hard to chew. Think about when we're chewing that carrot, like how hard it is for you to chew. And then most of us just swallow our food like halfway chewed up, right? And not all the way chewed up. Now think about how hard your body, your stomach, and your intestines have to work to break that down. Yes, you have some stomach acid, but right, there's a whole lot that goes into it. So when we start to like think about what's actually going on when we're eating, it can go a long way for then how we feel, and it can actually help improve bloating. It can help make our digestion better, that we're going to absorb vitamins, minerals, nutrients better. We're going to have more regular bowel movements, and rather than seeing this fluctuation between diarrhea and constipation because our nervous system is out of control. So
Yeah.
I would say just that whole like intentional and mindfulness around the eating by taking that, practicing that pause before you do eat, can be a huge game changer for a lot of people rather than them feel like they have to go like spend like $500 on supplements.
So good. It's so good.
And it's simple, right? And people are like, oh, not going to work. Yeah, well.
Yeah. I love all your analogies, Lindsay. The
It's how
factory
you
with
it's
the
how you explain things, right?
yeah. Awesome. Well, yeah, this has been so impactful and like you're clearly so knowledgeable and have so much insight into all of the different complexities of the human body and digestion and gut health and nervous system integration and I love all of it. If anybody is listening and they want to connect with you, if anything resonates, how should they reach out to you?
Yeah, honestly, Instagram is probably the best way. That's where I'm most active. And so um, at Lindsey Marie Wellness, Lindsay with an E. And yeah, I'm always responsive to messages in there, but so everyone knows it's me answering messages, not a robot. And so sometimes it takes a day or so. Right.
Awesome. Any like final thoughts or last message that you want to send listeners with?
Yeah, I would say, if people are in this space and they're probably listening to your podcast because they know that they're stressed, right? Or they know that they have a bunch of health issues or things going on and they can't figure it out. And I always encourage people, like, even if you are trying to figure out the root cause, like, truly figure that out and you haven't yet, like, do not give up that hope yet. And as long as you are still a believer that your body can heal and it can, but you have to also believe that you will find the right person. You just have to seek them out and keep trying until you find them, but not giving up. Because I've had so many women that they've seen handful of practitioners before us, and sometimes it just takes that time to find your person.
So good. Love that. Well, thank you so much for being here. I cannot wait for to hear. I mean, this was hugely impactful. You are just dropping bombs.
Thank you so much for having me.
Um, awesome. Well, thank you so much for listening. If this episode resonated with you or you found it useful, please like and give us a review and share it with somebody who could benefit from it. Thanks for listening. See you on the next episode. Hey everyone, thank you so much for tuning in to Holistic Health with Melissa. It is such an honor to have you here. If you found value in today's episode, would you share it with a friend who might need it too and leave us a review? If you have questions or topic suggestions, reach out on social media or visit our website, holistichealthbymelissa.com, and take care. I'll catch you on the next episode.